Mrs. Mosena, it's a pleasure having you today. So first of all, we know recently China proposed this Global Governance Initiative. It's a new initiative which is built on sovereign equality, respect for international rule of law, multilateralism, people-centered approaches, and taking concrete actions. What's your assessment of the GGI, and how do people in Africa receive this initiative?
Thanks very much. And I think the Global Governance Initiative is really a well-appreciated initiative because it talks to the consideration of everybody as equal human beings. And it talks to governance at an international level, but that considers everybody at a multilateral level. So for me, the fact that it talks to looking at nations, at states, as individuals with their own independence and need to be at the table for power and decision making, for me that is a big one. Coming from a very small nation, my country, and knowing that power is normally perceived as economic, and it's also sometimes, in fact, also perceived as population. We don't have both. So that says normally we find ourselves feeling that we are at the back end of decision making. So the Global Governance Initiative definitely talks to us. It says, despite your size, your economy, we see you as people that can be considered for what you feel is important. We see you at the table and we see you as equal partners. So that resonates very well with us. Granted, Lesotho has been part of the, I can say, the international order that considers multiple nations, part of the United Nations, for example, which we can safely say the Global Governance Initiative is not necessarily coming up as a fairly new concept, but it comes with different dimensions of that multilateralism.
You just mentioned about the UN. Actually, this year marks the 80th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations. What achievements under the framework of the UN stand out to you? And also, what are some pressing issues in global governance affecting Africa today?
Well, I can say, for one, we can talk about the fact that the UN was established. For me, that stands out as saying, at least there's been some recognition. And the fact that we have space to converse on global issues and to even have our voices heard to a certain extent on issues that affect us as a continent, because we sometimes, I suppose, have to lean on our bigger brothers and sisters to make our voices heard. And the UN has established offices in our countries. My country, we have a UN office, and they are doing quite a number of programs that are advancing us economically, that are advancing us socially and otherwise. And I think that is the cooperation that I can talk to about the establishment of the United Nations, for the fact that we have that space where our countries can be considered when there are international challenges, even continental, talking of Africa, and even regionally. So, issues addressing health, education, the United Nations governance, mostly, it is in our countries, and it's helping a lot to try and assist or facilitate in making sure that we engage as a nation towards solving our internal problems. Yeah.
So what role do you think China's Global Governance Initiative maybe can help to complement of what maybe under the current UN framework to help to address those pressing issues?
Well, for one, like I said, the UN it's a good platform, but it's definitely has room for improvement to incorporate the smaller states, the voice of the smaller states, because like I said, when you are from a country like mine, you feel like you have to lean on your bigger brother. So really for us, that's the bigger aspect that says, with the Global Governance Initiative, that says you should appreciate everybody for who they are. And as the world evolves, as change us, we should remember ultimately that we are human beings before everything else. We should remember that in the introduction of AI, where humans are being replaced by machines, and where the thinking process is no longer just confined to human beings, we should really go back and try to appreciate who we really are as a people. When we talk of Africa, who are we talking about? When we talk about nations seated together around a table and making decisions, do we really make decisions on behalf of other nations, or we allow everybody to come to the table and present their issues? As Africans, we have the Agenda 2063, which we subscribe to, most of us, and we also have the SDGs, which again, normally I would say most countries subscribe to. But the question is, others are advancing faster than others. Why is that? And what are other nations saying about the ones that are lagging behind? For me, the Global Governance Initiative says there will be consideration for the smaller or the slower movers, to understand what we can do, what is it that we can do to help them tag along, and not just stand ahead and be proud that we have achieved, while others are really frustrated, and sometimes frustrated because of the actions of the other states.
Have you thought about implementation of the Global Governance Initiative, like what concrete actions can be taken to ensure that developing nations, or in Africa and also countries in the Global South, can be equally represented when shaping solutions?
Well, that's what I should really commend China for. For example, there's the issue of the Silk Road. For me, that is an initiative that says, who is where? Let's find them and let's get them on the boat and let's travel together. So I think that's an initiative that needs to be strengthened, and really it needs to be infused in all of us. It starts here, but then it talks to everybody along the road. So for me, that is something that needs to be really strengthened, to make sure, or to bring everybody along the initiative. But now, talking about my country, we have what we call Botho. And in the Southern African context, we say Ubuntu. And Ubuntu says, when we do whatever we're doing, let's feel for each other. Like, where are you? In which space are you operating? In my culture, we first of all try to appreciate who you are. Like, where have you been? How is the weather? How is everything? And that says, where is this person? What is she feeling right now? Such that when you start interacting with the person now on the major issues that you are dealing with, you know exactly where I am coming from. You know what is frustrating me, or at least you have a better sense of it. Because that says, you now decide how to interact with me better informed than if you did not ask such questions. So once again, coming back to the Global Governance Initiative, for me, it depicts exactly the same scenario. It says, we don't just move because we are in this fast-paced world and we want to achieve this and this, but we need to move along understanding where everybody else is. And that, for me, is the Ubuntu principle that I would say the Global Governance Initiative has to consider as it moves along.
And lastly, before we wrap up today's conversation, I want to delve into our two countries' bilateral relations. We know China and Lesotho have established this long-standing diplomatic ties and close cooperations, saying trade, education, health, and etc. So in your view, what's your assessment of our two countries' bilateral relations going forward, and in which areas of cooperation do you expect to see?
Well, I would say, for one, you're right. We have a long-standing relationship, our two countries. And that relationship has grown from strength to strength. We see a lot of support that is provided by the People's Republic of China in our country, in terms of hospitals, the health sector you mentioned. We have entertainment or recreation facilities through China. We have the energy processing plant, yes, the sun salt processing plant, and that is through the relationship that we have with China. And much as this is highly appreciated, but there's still so much that can be done. Having been here for this few days, I am enthused by what China is and has become in a very short period of time. And there's a lot of intention to move forward and to advance the country. There's a lot of discipline, and you see everybody there like excited about this China that we see. I must say, I'm saying this China because outside you hear a different story, and the safety here is like exceptional. It's clean, the food is good and everything like that. But now let me get back to the question that you were asking. I think in Lesotho, we need to advance exactly like China has advanced. Well, it's not going to be easy. There's a lot of innovation around China, but I think we are in a very good position to leap as a country from being a third world country, and maybe not necessarily the first world, but advancing to way beyond where we are. If China could consider trying some of its innovations in our country, that is a gap that I think can be really a go-getter for us. But the other one is there are industrial parks that China has implemented in different countries, from what I've learned. And for me, that is one key area for job creation in our country. So it would be good if China could consider really expanding our economic base through engaging with us with more and more industrial parks. Why? Because we have a lot of youth at home. Unemployment rate is high, and the reason it's high is because we are really not yet export-led, an export-led community. So the economy in our country is really struggling. We import almost everything from South Africa and yes, from other nations, but it would be good to have Lesotho reverse the gear and import just a little and a lot, such that we grow our economy.
This is CGTN Radio. Hear the difference.